Katy Faust is an author and founder of the children's rights nonprofit Them Before Us.
She recently sat down with Jordan Peterson to discuss her advocacy for the intrinsic and inalienable rights of children.
Katy believes that nothing that is harmful to children can be good for adults or society. She argues that if you optimize your social policies in relationship to the well-being of children, you move a long way towards optimizing your social policies for the flourishing of everyone. Katy's views on surrogacy are particularly noteworthy. She believes that intentionally cutting out a child's mother or father is a primal wound that can cause harm to their physical, emotional, and academic well-being. She argues that surrogacy severs the child from the genetic mother, the birth mother, and the social mother, all of whom play critical roles in a child's life.
Jordan Peterson acknowledges that Katy Faust's points are valid, but also points out that the children in question wouldn't have existed without surrogacy. He suggests that it's better for them to exist and be loved, even if they are deprived of some aspects of maternal care, than not to exist at all.
Katy Faust counters that this argument is manipulative and doesn't allow children to express their feelings and concerns about their circumstances. She emphasizes that it's possible to recognize the dignity and worth of individual lives while still being critical of the circumstances of their conception. The conversation also touches on the topic of reproductive technologies and the impact they have on children. Katy Faust shares that her organization, Them Before Us, catalogs the stories of children who have lost a parent due to adult interests, including those created through sperm and egg donation or surrogacy. Katy argues that these children often have questions and feelings that are similar to those of adoptees, and that it's essential to acknowledge and validate their experiences.
Jordan Peterson also asks Katy Faust about surrogacy in general, particularly in cases where people are infertile and turn to surrogacy as a pathway forward. They're discussing the idea of a delicate balance between social policy and individual interests.
Katy Faust thinks that there's a simple way to approach this issue, which is that adults should sacrifice so kids don't have to. She believes that children have a right to their mother and father, and that adults don't have a right to acquire a child.
Jordan Peterson is playing devil's advocate, asking Katy to explain why adults can't acquire a child through surrogacy.
Katy responds by saying that this would violate the child's pre-political right to biological parentage. She also talks about the concept of natural rights, which she defines as rights that exist before government and don't require anyone else to provide them. Katy argues that children have a natural right to their mother and father, and that adults don't have a natural right to acquire a child.
Jordan Peterson points out that children can bond with multiple people, and that the maternal and paternal relationships are not always unique. He also talks about the biological nuances of the maternal-infant relationship, such as the swapping of DNA and the responsiveness of breast milk. Katy Faust asks Jordan Peterson about the studies on maternal loss and its impact on kids. Jordan Peterson admits that he can't think of any specific studies, and Katy Faust points out that this is because mother loss is so antithetical to our species that it's hard to study. She argues that intentionally severing the bond between mother and child is harmful, and that adopted children often have more externalizing disorders than the general population. Jordan Peterson suggests that there may be other explanations for the outcomes in adopted children, such as genetic histories that predispose them to disruption.
However, Katy Faust argues that the disruption of the primal bond with the birth mother has lifelong consequences and fallout. She also talks about the studies on maternal deprivation in rat populations, which show that even brief maternal deprivation can permanently alter the structure of a child's brain. Katy Faust believes that children have a natural right to their mother and father, and that adults don't have a natural right to acquire a child. The conversation also touches on the topic of same-sex parenting and the impact it has on children. Katy Faust shares that her organization, Them Before Us, catalogs the stories of children with same-sex parents. She reveals that many of these children miss their mother or father and crave male love, despite having a butch or femme mom.
Jordan Peterson points out the sample bias problem in these studies, but Katy Faust emphasizes that the problems these children face are real, even if the data isn't perfect.
The conversation turns to the lack of high-quality studies on same-sex parenting, with Katy Faust noting that many studies have serious methodological problems. She cited the work of Mark Regnerus, who published a study in 2012 that showed negative outcomes for children with same-sex parents. Despite the backlash he faced, his study used the gold standard of social science methodology. Katy Faust also mentions the work of Paul Sullins, who evaluated government data and found significant differences in outcomes for children with same-sex parents.
Jordan Peterson and Katy Faust also discuss the Cinderella effect, which refers to the increased risk of abuse and neglect when an unrelated adult is present in the home. They note that sociologists generally agree that biological parents offer distinct and complementary benefits to child rearing, and that losing a parent to death, divorce, or abandonment results in child harms.
The conversation turns to practical strategies, with Katy Faust sharing her plans for a global takeover, not a literal one, but a movement to protect kids' rights worldwide. She emphasizes the need to change hearts and minds, as well as laws and policies, to ensure that children receive the investment, connection, and protection they deserve. Her organization, Them Before Us, aims to be a part of this movement, and she encourages listeners to get involved and support their efforts. Katy Faust emphasizes that children's rights, such as the right to life, family, mind, and body, should be the foundation of societal values. She argues that when children's rights are prioritized, the culture war sorts itself out, and the interests of men and women align.
Jordan Peterson notes that the typical 30-year-old woman in the West is now childless, and more than half of women who don't have children at 30 will never have a child. He also mentions that 90% of childless women regret it, leading to access the complete 13-minute summary and unlock detailed insights for each topic discussed in the video. Please subscribe to Quick Podcast Summaries on Spotify and Apple Podcasts with free trial, and later, just for the price of candy in most places. Happy listening.